What's going on, guys? It's Zach back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to reprogram the subconscious mind. I'm going to give you some modalities of how to do it, as well as a little bit of why it should be done. And so, to start out, your subconscious mind is really responsible for everything in your existence, everything you can see, everything you can hear, all of your experiences, all of the people. And so if you follow by this philosophy that the collective subconscious is connected to all of us and is really responsible for the creation of reality, you understand that your programming is really responsible for what is around you. And so say that you're 30 years old, you've spent 30 years programming your subconscious mind a certain way, assuming you weren't aware that it was possible to specifically program your subconscious mind. And so what we have to do is recognize that if things aren't exactly the way we want in our lives, maybe that's financially we're not in the best place, or we don't feel like we know what our purpose is, or our relationships are very challenging and very damaged. What we have to do is go into our subconscious mind, find these roots that are creating these experiences, and a lot of the time what you can do is find experiences that are repeating themselves over and over. Maybe that's with a specific person, or maybe that's a general scenario that tends to happen on a regular basis to you. So like you always work jobs that suck. That's a recurring trend in your life that you can take that information and analyze that and say, okay, what is it about my beliefs that are continuing to recreate job experiences in my life that I don't love, I don't like even. And so when we're reprogramming the subconscious mind, what we would be doing in that situation is finding what those limiting factors are, finding what those disempowering beliefs are, and very deliberately going in and changing them. Reprogramming the subconscious mind is not necessarily difficult. Objectively, it's very simple. But what you have to remember is that, again, you've spent a very long time programming your mind a certain way. And so you should not expect to just snap your fingers and have a solution to the issues. A lot of the time it seems like people come into this manifestation community, into this spiritual community, looking for quick answers, looking for fast solutions. And the reality is that none of this stuff is going to be fast. It might be fast for you, and it's up to your beliefs as far as how quickly it can work, how powerful it can become. But expect that you will be working on this stuff for the rest of your life. And while you can and you should see solutions to your current problems pretty quickly, recognize that what this is really realizing your power as the creator of your entire reality. And the more that you can really dwell on this information and really reflect and really put this information into practice, the more you're going to see powerful results. So, all that being said, let's talk about some actual ways of reprogramming your subconscious mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you kind of the basic modalities, the general overview of what the modalities are, and then I'll talk a little bit about what my personal strategies are. In the future, I'll make more videos on how actually to do this stuff. So we're going to talk about visualization, we're going to talk about auto-suggestion, and we're going to talk about environment. And with these three things, there's 1,000,001 breakdowns of how to actually apply within each category. And so again, in the future, if you want, I'll make videos that are much more specific on how to actually leverage these things and how to actually do this stuff. So first things first, visualization. Very, very straightforward. The concept is that you are going to put an imaginal scene in your mind of something that you want to experience. There's a million philosophies on how this is done specifically, but I really prefer the Neville Goddard method, which is first person, which is living in the end. So say for example, I want to marry the woman of my dreams. I want to put myself in the end. So maybe that's 2 years after marriage, or maybe that's 5 years after marriage, or maybe the day after. But what I want to do is I want to put myself in an imaginal scene where that is what the outcome is. I'm going to put myself there first person, and I'm going to try to feel into the sensory details as much as possible. So what am I looking around and seeing, right? What am I feeling? Am I holding her? Are we are we hugging? Are we cuddling? Are we holding hands? Are we just in the car together? What's happening? What do I feel? The air, the smells, that kind of thing. Smell, there's another one. what does her hair smell like? What is there ocean breeze? Can I smell that? These are things that you can apply to your scene. Other things that are really, really helpful are conversations. So as humans, sometimes the external sensory data is not as powerful as the meaning truly behind it. And so that's okay. You can leverage that reality and have a conversation. So maybe she's coming to you and saying, or she's coming to me and saying, I'm so grateful that we've been able to make it this long, and we're such a good match for each other, and I'm so grateful to be married to you, something like that. And I would respond, yeah, it's really nice, and all this stuff. Having that conversation can really help to solidify the feeling and the meaning of the scene behind it. And so when it comes to visualization, probably the best way to do it is in the state akin to sleep. And so the way that I leverage this is before I fall asleep, if I want to really hardline something into my mind, I'm going to create that scene. So what I'll do is I'll take a few deep breaths as I'm starting to fall asleep and really try to relax my body as much as I possibly can, and then visualize my scene, visualize a very specific scene. The reason that doing the state akin to sleep, or right before you fall asleep during the night or during a nap or something, is because you start to get rid of a lot of the conscious mind's limitations. If you have a very stalwart conscious mind that is very critical in pointing out the reality of how things are or are not, it can get in the way, and it can start to, as you're trying to do your scene, it can point out all of the reasons that this is just not possible and what you're doing is ridiculous. And so helping yourself to kind of just let that conscious mind go, start to fall asleep, get into that meditative state, that is the best way to do it, in my opinion, just because you're kind of letting your conscious mind take a back seat and giving the power up to your subconscious mind and saying, hey, I believe with faith in this unseen reality, and even just for the couple minutes that I'm doing this right now, I'm giving time for this unseen reality to come forth. I'd say as far as really deliberate techniques go, visualization is probably the most powerful, just because you are putting all of your senses in this situation of the wish fulfilled. So you are embodying that state of energy. And if we follow the Kabbalion or other books that talk about the laws of the universe, we know that there is a law called vibration. And the more that we're able to step into that vibrational energy of the being that we want to be, that person that we want to embody, because fundamentally all of this, whatever it is that we want to manifest, is focusing on a version of reality that we are already whole and complete and fulfilled and have what it is that we want. And so with visualization, we're just stepping right into that place where we have every single aspect, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, all of it right here, right now. The next modality is autosuggestion, and a lot of people consider this affirmation. I think autosuggestion fills out a much broader category just because it is affirmations spoken, but it's also affirmations thought. It's also very deliberate switching of your thoughts, right? Going in, and if you have something that's a disempowering thought, you immediately change it and say, actually, instead, here's the situation, here's what is going on. I'm so happy and grateful that I have this, this, and this, and it's going so well for me. Everything is working out for me. Wow, look how great this is. There's a YouTuber who goes by Roxy Talks, and she describes this in such an effective way, basically where you might be trying to manifest a specific person, for example, and you're giving yourself this reality that, hey, everything's so great, all this stuff, but you still have those limiting beliefs that are coming into play and manifesting in the form of them sending you an aggressive text, or them blowing you off and ghosting you for a specific period of time. And when these things happen, I know ghosting is kind of like, it's a thing that's not happening, but when something happens that is contrary to what it is that you want, you just immediately, you don't even recognize it. You just say, oh wow, you get the angry text and you're just like, wow, I'm so glad XYZ is always sending me positive vibes, and we have such great conversations, and the energy is so light and wonderful between us. And you just tell yourself that story, and you just keep telling yourself the flipped story. That's part of affirmation, right? That's part of autosuggestion. So, but just for some more straightforward techniques, it's really just affirmations, right? Writing out what it is that you want in the I am in the present, adding those power words. I'm so happy and grateful that it feels so good now that I am loving my life as I'm living in this place. All of these things, very present, very much right now. It allows you to feel that energy right here, right now. One caveat that I'll add about affirmations is that they can become somewhat unbelievable, as we are not doing them necessarily. Usually we're not doing them in the state akin to sleep, or a place where our unconscious mind or our conscious mind is kind of taking a back role. And so one of the ways that we can make our affirmations more believable and really digestible, right? Because if we say something like, I'm a millionaire, and you're just so far from a millionaire, maybe you're like dead broke, it's your conscious mind is immediately gonna be like, well, no, you're not. You know, you're a fraud, is what you are. And so what you have to do is really dial those back, right? Dial those down, make them things that you can believe. So if you want to be a millionaire, maybe saying I'm a millionaire is really, really difficult. And so instead you can say, I am striving to make massive progress in my business endeavors as I work toward growing my personal savings to $1 million. Or maybe you're not even working on a business yet. Maybe you're saying, I am so happy and grateful now that I am allowing my conscious mind to take a back seat, and I am allowing the subconscious to come forth and bring me the inspirations, hunches, ideas, and miracles that can come into my space and show me the path forward to becoming a millionaire, right? So there's always ways to adjust these things to make them empowering and believable, because sometimes they can be extremely disempowering. One of my clients last week actually told me that as he was doing his daily affirmations, he had set a alarm that would come up and read one of his affirmations, and he found that the affirmations were actually not in line really with how he really felt. And he was finding that as they were popping up on a regular basis, they were disempowering him. He was reading them and being like, well, his conscious mind was like, well, no, that's not the case. And so rather than affirming things that he really wanted, what he was really doing ultimately was affirming that things were not going the way that he wanted. This is something that you can change in a variety of ways, right? Like technique wise, you can just almost like force yourself to be more open to believing. But for those of us that are still kind of new on this journey and are not so far along that we can really just power through and leverage any affirmation, it really does help to kind of dial it back. And don't think by dialing it back you're doing yourself one less, or you're, cutting off time or something, like you're expanding the amount of time between where you are and where you want to be. Really all you're doing is just focusing on the personal journey, because what you really want, you don't just want that one thing. What you really want is an empowered state of being that is able to manifest things with no effort, right? And so it really does help to do the small time programming work of just making things more believable, making things more digestible. And you're gonna get to that point where the big things are much simpler to manifest. But for now, be willing to do that hard work, because the more you're willing to really lay the foundation now, the more with time, things will be effortless for you. They'll be easy for you. They'll be calm. It'll be just a flow from where you are into where you want to be. So all that being said, that's affirmation. You can write these things down. You can just very deliberately rewrite your thoughts as you have them. And a good exercise, probably the best exercise really, is just monitoring your thoughts. And whenever you have these disempowering thoughts, just rewrite them. And the more that you do this, the easier it will become, I promise. The final methodology is environment. So sometimes the easiest thing that we can do is just change our environment, just go somewhere else, put ourselves in a new situation. This is my least favorite one, because at the end of the day, you take yourself with you no matter where you go. And so if you think that simply by changing your environment and going somewhere else, things are going to be easier for you, there's a high likelihood that that's just not the case, and the uncertainty will actually add an element of chaos that will bring you to a place where you fall back onto old habits, but even harder a lot of the time, because everything is at a balance. And so if we throw things so off balance with the hope that we're going to change our situation radically, a lot of the time, again, what it's doing is there's going to be these balancing forces that launch us back, and launch us back sometimes even harder. So changing your environment can potentially be even worse. But that being said, it can be better. I've had both situations. I've had situations where I left an environment and made massive progress in a new environment just because my old energy, people and circumstances that were regularly repeating were no longer available. And so I allowed myself some breathing room to transform. But like I said, there's also the opposite situation. And so when it comes to environment, I highly recommend that if you're going to leverage environment shift, really define what it is that you want to get out of the new environment, really define what it is that you want to get out of life, and use that uncertainty to create new routines, use that uncertainty to create new habits. And when you do these things, that makes leveraging environment very, very, very powerful. But the number one way to fail in leveraging environment is just not to have a plan, just to say, I'm going to Florida and everything's going to be great. Well, it's probably not, unless you have a plan, unless you're like, okay, now I have this freedom. I know that I'm going to be able to have a masterful morning routine, or now I know I'm going to be able to have that time to meditate at the end of the day that I really want to without, my siblings screaming or whatever it is for you. So those are just ways to leverage environment and a little bit of a caution. Well, there you go, guys. 3 very deliberate categories of reprogramming your subconscious mind. If you have any questions about this stuff, drop a comment below or shoot me a DM on social media, or you can send me an email, zach@veganstrongfit.com, and I'd be happy to give you some advice. I also offer one-on-one coaching in this kind of stuff, so if you want some help with that, feel free to send me an email as well. Until next time, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell notification so you know when my videos come out. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later.